Safety makes you money. If other industries, whether it be healthcare, tourism, mining, would engage in a relationship with their governing body like WorkSafe and Pinnacle Pellet has done, BC would be the safest, most productive place to live, work, and play.
Safety, it's a journey, it's not a destination. We have seen since 2014 a 70% reduction in our medical incident rate, a 80+% reduction in our lost time accident rate.
If you read the safety textbooks, everybody says, do the safety and it'll spill over. I had some experience with that and seen it when I'd worked in other companies, but nothing to the magnitude that I've seen in our journey so far.
In the sawmilling industry, they deal with logs. Their waste product is dust. Dust is very explosive, and we all have heard and know about the incidents at the sawmills. We deal with that dust on a day-to-day basis. We make our product from that dust.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about Pinnacle. Today we're the world's third largest wood pellet producer. Pinnacle has 7 facilities and we have 300 employees located across BC. We take wood residue from sawmills and we compress it down to make small wood pellets.
The feed material that we make it with is residual, so it's sawdust, it's shavings. It's the stuff from the sawmill that they don't want.
We grind up the sawdust and run it through dryers, and then we press it.
Those wood pellets get used in commercial power generation in replacement of coal.
Our biggest customer is in UK. Our wood pellets produce the electricity for 1% of the entire UK grid.
I knew that I had a challenge here. When I first took the plant over, we had 2 WorkSafe related injuries. We had 3 outstanding orders. When I first drove on site, the sawdust pile in the yard was on fire. The pile across the highway was on fire, and we were not making production at the time.
I remember when I first came and I went out and talked to people in the plant. People were using things like having fires is just part of the business. And that didn't sit right with me.
The focus was on numbers, on dollars. You know, we were a new plant at the time. We needed to make a name for ourselves. There was a lot of things that were overlooked.
When I first started working at Pinnacle, the very first day I showed up, the fire department was there. There was hoses strung across. I couldn't even access the parking lot. And I'm thinking, well, what have I got myself into? Maybe this isn't the wisest decision I've made to work here.
When we walked into Pinnacle plants in the early years, it was not uncommon to see combustible dust, sawdust, that would be 4, 5, 6 inches deep in areas, and especially if they'd had any sort of an upset condition. All of a sudden, the room would basically be full of dust. And when I'm talking about full of dust, it looked like it was snowing.
Well, I really think they were going to go down either of 2 roads. They were either going to have a catastrophic event, an explosion, and possibly hurt or kill some of their people, or we were going to end up imposing so many sanctions against them that they just couldn't operate. Financially, it wouldn't be feasible.
3 workers have been injured in a fire at the Pinnacle Pellet plant in Burns Lake. 2 employees were not badly injured, but a third was more seriously hurt. The fire was quickly contained and no equipment was damaged. WorkSafeBC is now investigating.
You know, I'll just say it blunt. When you make the newspaper and you're on the headlines of the news, that can, you know, significantly impact the company.
It became really clear to me that we were not as safe as we thought we were.
I believe it was November of 2014. Rob McCurdy, who is the CEO of Pinnacle Pellet, contacted me on the phone and he said, you know, I'd like to meet with you. Didn't know what it was about. He said, we'd like to meet face to face and talk to you a little bit about Pinnacle's position. I went prepared to say, you've got to pull up your bootstraps. You're facing penalties, you'll continue to face penalties, and you need to abide by the laws of the land, or we're going to continue down this rough road of us finding fault with what you're doing and penalizing you for it.
Al and I sat across with each other and I said, Al, you don't have to hit me over the head any more time. I got the message. We're going to change. I'll share the roadmap with you. We're starting a new page. We put dates, we put timelines, we put priorities. Some of the guys thought I was nuts. They're saying, you're just giving WorkSafe something to hang yourself with. And I said, yes, I am, but I believe in what we're going to do, and I know we're going to deliver on this.
They knew they weren't doing things as they should be. That was a starting point to say, once you realize that and take responsibility for that and acknowledge that, where can you go from there?
He made it very clear that they were the regulatory body. They weren't going to give us free passes on anything. But he also said that he wanted to give us some dedicated resources so that we could support each other. And that's truly what happened.
When the agreement first came down, I was skeptical. I came to our tailgate meeting the next morning. I presented it to my team. I said, we're going to engage in a relationship with WorkSafe. You could tell my team looked at me and thought, are you crazy? This will never work.
I can remember it to the day. We rolled out this program called Owning Safety. Everybody's eyes rolled in the room, right? It's another safety program coming in.
In the most basic terms, the Owning Safety program was about setting clear goals. 0 incidents, 0 fires, and complete employee buy-in. But that's not actionable for employees. So from there, it was about creating a series of 7 critical focus areas.
My partner, Jeff, and I would be visiting each of the facilities doing baseline inspections to determine where they were with those 7 elements, and then to provide guidance and assistance on how to bring those areas into compliance.
People don't tend to like change very much. When you're trying to introduce new policies and procedures and stuff like that, there's always a fight, there's always a pushback.
There wasn't a lot of trust. I think outwardly we talked about wanting to change the relationship, but both sides were sort of holding back just a little bit to see what the other person was actually willing to commit to.
WorkSafe came back with basically one guiding principle. They said, we're going to judge your safety progress not by what the senior executives say, not by what the plant managers say. We're going to judge your progress based on what your hourly employees say and the actions that they do. That was incredibly powerful for us because we knew if we did not connect with our employees that we would not be successful in this journey.
It has been night and day since. By working together, we had 100% employee buy-in.
Our mill started to get cleaner and cleaner, and all these hazards just started rolling back.
I've seen the crew morale improve. People are part of the process now. They're owning safety. They're being recognized for their involvement.
We had to be different in the way that we dealt with them. And I think that willingness to be different, to assess their commitment and to cooperate and work with them is what has brought us to the point where we are with this employer today, where we see them not only leading as an individual employer, but they've also taken significant steps to influence their colleagues across the country as well as internationally.
What I see is engagement. I see supervisors, I see operators, mechanics, and millwrights all feeling part of a better operating, better functioning Pinnacle Pellet.
I have not had an order in 2 years. We're coming up on 2 years accident-free. 2016, we're smashing our budgeting numbers, and this has been the best year in the Pinnacle's history.
This was a huge change for us. Having us all muster around owning safety, guarding those priorities against all other distractions, to see that successful really reinforces that that's a really key thing and a great way to do change management.
It's nice to see a company put their money where their mouth is and stick with it like Pinnacle has.
It is possible.
to form these partnerships and to come to a common goal.
I love it. It's probably the best place I've worked at. It's not every day you get to rewrite procedures to make a plant better.
Safety is our business. It's the first thing that comes up in the morning, and it's the first thing that we are thinking about when we leave at night.
It makes me feel very proud. It makes me feel the proudest when I'm able to send my employees home the same way they came in the morning.